And now I'm pleased to yield to Mr. LaHood, who is not on our subcommittee, but has always been very interested on this issue. Thank you, Mr. LaHood. You're recognized.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate you granting me a temporary visa to be here today. And I echo the comments of my colleagues regarding your service here in Congress. Your energy, your voice, your optimism will be missed here in Congress. So thank you for all your work. Ambassador Jeffery, I can't tell you how pleased a lot of us were that the President picked you and Secretary Pompeo picked you for the Syrian position for Syrian engagement. I think it brings a lot of credibility to the issue. So thank you for your service on this. I want to just talk a little bit or get your thoughts on Lebanon. Obviously, there are so many intertwining political and security issues that relate to Lebanon. I look on the positive side in Lebanon. We just had free and fair elections in May with a new election law that would free of controversy, no protests. We had a Cedar conference that pledged $12 billion to Lebanon, which is positive. The LAF continues to cooperate with American forces and American intelligence, and it's been seamless with General Aoun in charge of the Lebanese forces. Obviously, I think we have one of the best ambassadors in the world there with Ambassador Richard, and so those are the positive things. However, I look at the concerns and the challenges in Lebanon. Can't form a government after 7 months now. We have over 1 million refugees in Lebanon from Syria that continue to stress and anxiety and uneasiness on the Lebanese infrastructure, everything from education to transportation to the government. Obviously, Hezbollah continues to flex its muscle in Lebanon. It's part of the reason we have not been able to form a government there, and that concerns me. And then also the pawn that Lebanon plays between the Sunni-Shia chess game in the Middle East. But I'd be curious on your thoughts on the relationship, particularly on the refugees. I know we've started to see some refugees go back, but hasn't been fulfilled to the level we need there.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the subcommittee, Mr. Congressman. I have an agreement with Acting Assistant Secretary and good friend David Satterfield to only talk about Syria, so I have to be careful in talking about Lebanon. Now let me talk about Lebanon. And I'll do it from the standpoint of my focus in Syria, much of which is Iran. The two major problems you cited, all three, Sunni-Shia conflict, Hezbollah, and refugees, I see Iran flashing before my eyes when you mention all three of them. Lebanon is a victim of Iran's encroachment throughout the Arab world as much as Syria is, although not to the same horrific degree. Just as Lebanon previously was a victim of Syria's aggression, as Syria was more expansionist than it is today because it's been tied up in its civil conflict. But tomorrow it could be back doing the same sort of thing. So we have, and when I look at Lebanon, I see a Syria-Iran problem. That's simplifying things, but again, I have to keep it at my Syria-focused level. If we can fix Syria and fix the Iranian expansionism, we're in a much better place with Lebanon. In terms of the refugees, our position is clear. We do want refugees to go home, but refugee return has to be voluntary, it has to be safe, it has to be dignified, and they have to go back to areas where we believe in getting information from the UNHCR and others and putting that all together are safe for them to go back to. There's very little of that in Syria, particularly in the Assad-held areas. These people, in many cases, want to go back to their homes, but they do not want to live under Assad's tyranny. That's the underlying problem.
Can you just a little bit further on that? The de-escalation zones or proposed de-escalation zones, what's your opinion on whether they're safe? And it seems to be that the hurdles and the hoops to go through to bring these refugees out of Lebanon back, seem unattainable at this point. But maybe comment a little bit about the de-escalation zones and whether those are possible to bring people back.
Certainly the de-escalation, there's only one de-escalation zone left, which is Idlib. But the areas where the Turks are in the northeast of the country have seen a certain return of refugees to the tune of some tens of thousands over the past 6 months to a year. We've seen a smaller return of refugees to the northeast where we are. And again, there has been some return of refugees into Assad-held areas, but of the something like 5.5 million refugees who've left Syria. We've only seen in the tens of thousands return to Assad. So people are voting with their feet, specifically not moving with their feet.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your courtesy and flexibility in letting me be here. Thank you.